We have JK leaving the military and people talking about how this is unlikely and it's a bit strange. We have people saying that JK was in Itaewon at a restaurant. And then we have people believing that JK flashed his middle finger. Say Dumplings, it's Dave Desai. Let's get into it. Recently, there's a clip that has gone viral, and I'm not personally sure exactly where it's from. The clip showcased a moment where we see a Jungkook moment, and they're both being really cute. Judging by the hair, it definitely was before the military and quite some time before the military. So before all the solo stuff. This likely was a clip that was part of the documentaries that they did or some sort of behind the scenes moments that they've done. And the clip looked highly edited and produced. There is also a voiceover happening while this clip is being played. So I don't believe this was something that was fan made. This is important to explain and I'll tell you why. Now there is a specific moment that is being talked about where the video clip started to get a little bit blurry, as I'm sure it was trying to transition off into something else. But in that specific clip, we see what appears to be JK showing his middle finger. Some people took this as him trying to give the finger to the camera, as in he's upset that someone is watching him right now. And this was his kind of way of giving a sly comment or a sly way to fight back. Of course, we don't actually know what his message would have been if that was a middle finger, but I personally believe that if he did have any comments or complaints, he would have to do it behind the scenes. He would have to talk to someone behind the scenes and also could pursue legal action if this was a stalker behind the scenes. But I believe that that wasn't it. I don't believe celebrities or people who know that they're being heavily watched would do something like this to make themselves look like not such a great person, right? And of course, most people looking at this obviously wouldn't think that he's a bad person for flipping someone off, because if this was a stalker looking at him, then he has every right to flip them all. But it can look bad to do this as an idol and to do such a gesture. Now, for me personally, when I look at this, it doesn't necessarily look like a middle finger. It kind of looks like his pointer finger, but I can't fully tell what it is. And we also see some of the pixels blend together, so we really don't know. But keep in mind, in places like Korea or parts of Asia, the middle finger is not widely used in everyday life. People don't typically think to use it, and it's not something that anyone would automatically go to if they felt insulted. Unlike here, maybe in the US. And even then, does anyone really use the middle finger anymore? I think the older generation does understand it if someone were to do it, but I don't know if the younger generation looks at it as an old person thing, because there definitely have been situations in which I randomly get cursed at in the street, like how you would if you're walking down New York City, and I flip the bird at them, but I'm not entirely sure if that is something that people still do. So definitely let me know, because I would love to do whatever it is people are doing now. But I wanted to say this because I know that the middle finger isn't something that would automatically come to mind if JK felt disrespected. So if we're seeing a middle finger, it likely could just be the finger that he's using to point to something. And I'm sure we've all done it where we'll point to something and we accidentally use the middle finger. But of course, if he wants to express himself in any type of way, he's more than welcome to. And he definitely has a right to. He definitely is capable of flipping someone off if he really wanted to. But I think in this case, he knew that this was his team that was recording him, and there likely wouldn't be a specific reason to do that. But this isn't the only thing that JK has been in the talks about recently, because JK has also been spoken about of his military service. There was this interview that this woman did with, I guess, someone who is either an expert of the Korean military or has served in the Korean military and knows a little bit more about the stuff that happens there. She basically conducted an interview where she asked about JK being the chef. Like any chef would know, being a chef is extremely difficult and a difficult job because you're in heat all day. You're cooking for potentially hundreds of people a day, and it's nonstop if the restaurants are busy, right? Of course, for a restaurant, there are slower days, but for the military, there really is no such thing as a slower day, because your customers and the people that you feed are the same people every single day. The guy in the interview talked about how there are likely anywhere between 6 to 8 people who are the chefs, and there can be around 150 soldiers that need to be fed every day. And of course, multiple times a day. I don't know how often they eat. I would imagine it's 3 times a day. So it's 6 to 8 people feeding 450 soldiers essentially. So 150 times 3. And then I would assume that this chef has to wake up really early, make breakfast, because I'm sure the soldiers get up at like the crack of dawn, and the chefs need to be up before then, maybe a few hours before then, to prepare. And then once the breakfast is done, maybe the chefs get a break, but then right after they may have to start preparing for lunch. And then I would imagine the same situation for dinner. And then I would also imagine they probably have to stay late to do the dishes and clean up and all that stuff. The guy also continued to talk about how there really were no days off because they have only 6 to 8 people and they're obviously very understaffed. A lot of people were very excited to hear this, to know that JK picked a job that wasn't easy, because I think a lot of people felt like JK was kind of trying to evade the service in a way by picking a job that was less hard. My dad is a chef. He's been a chef for, I guess, my entire life and even a decade before that. Being a chef is an extremely hard job. And this comes from such a classist place to sit there and say, well, someone who is serving obviously isn't having a job that's difficult. It's also a very physically demanding job because you are on your feet all day, you are cooking, you are in the heat all day. So it's not less than a soldier training. Of course, I think it's really messed up that people assumed this and that this was something that needed clarification at all. And of course, I'm really glad that there is clarification now, because people can use those clips and talk about it and say, look, there's other people that are talking about it, other people that might be in Korea are very respectful of cooking and all that stuff, but it shouldn't have to be said. And I think it's pretty obvious that really any job is difficult. People would even sometimes go as far as to say being a janitor is easy, but also it's a job that also requires a lot of physical strength. You're on your feet all day too, and it's not easy to clean. If you're someone who has ever experienced cleaning, and most of us are amateur cleaners, right? We can clean the house or the apartment that we're in, but that's not the same stuff that a janitor does. If you clean and you're out of breath and tired at the end of that, then likely you can imagine what a janitor has to go through when they have to clean an entire facility or an entire floor. Not to mention bathrooms, taking out the trash, and dealing with people who are rude to you. I have the utmost respect for anyone in any job because we need these jobs. And also, most of us have done some variation of a job that exists. Like, we're all our own chefs when we're just cooking for ourselves, and we're also our own janitors. So we know how hard these jobs are, and yet we still disrespect people for doing them professionally. I don't know how that's even a thing that happens. And so it's wild to see these things floating online, and it's even more so when we see what JK has allegedly been up to. It was just rumored that being a chef would mean that you wouldn't have time off, but of course I imagine they do get some time off if they request it. It's not just like they're working every day for a year and a half without any days off. So some people believe that JK recently took time off to go to Itaewon and eat with one of his really close friends, Mingyu. The photo was believed to be taken from a window, and it appeared like a fan was just walking by and saw JK by the window and snapped the picture, and then from another angle you were able to see who he was sitting with. JK and Mingyu have been accused for dating for quite some time. In fact, I think this was one of the first dating rumors either of them ever had. So a lot of people are still using this joke that the two are in a romantic relationship together. However, there were some people who were questioning the legitimacy of this photo. Now, of course, the dating rumors for the majority of the community, they know that this is a joke and it's not real. Neither of them are likely together romantically, but they're just close friends. But what I was confused about was the fact that it seemed like people were trying to figure it out because they had an ulterior motive and they wanted to know if the pictures were real or not. Now, I wasn't sure exactly what their ulterior motive was, because if they were hanging out, that's great. If it was fake and they weren't hanging out, then that's also not a problem either. But either way, some people believe that this photo was edited and it was not legit, and that this was actually a photo that came from back in December of 2024. Of course, this could be an old photo, but resurfaced now, so we actually have no idea whether this is real or not. Seems very real, which is something that I think a lot of people found exciting, to see him kind of leave the military and go about his life and be a little bit more normal and live kind of a normal life. But then, of course, if they want to believe that it's a fake picture and it's not real, then that's definitely fine too, because either way, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't make him look like a bad person, doesn't make him look like he's dating, because I actually don't think he is dating him. So you're welcome to look at this photo however you want to. And if you want to believe it's real, you're welcome to. And if you don't want to believe it's real, you don't have to. I also think a lot of people don't want to believe it's real because they don't like the fact that other people are seeing JK and they're not. And maybe some of these people are just jealous. So if you want to think that the picture is edited, you're welcome to think that. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out Patreon for more videos. Link down below. Thank you to so leave a comment right here. Love you. Bye.